Hey guys, Southern Comfort here. My name is Cammie, and I just want to give an update on the best raised bed I think I've ever had. I planted 2 cantaloupe plants into this raised bed. It's about 2.5 feet tall, about 4 feet wide, and I have tons of cantaloupes in here. The best growing I've ever done in growing my cantaloupes. I've already picked 7, and this thing is loaded down with cantaloupes. I'm just super amazed with it. I haven't done anything really to these plants. I put some soil in here from my brush pile. I put some calcium nitrate, and that's all I've done. And we are loaded down with cantaloupes. I've already picked like 7 of them. And so I was like, man, I just didn't expect them to do this great. I counted 14 cantaloupes at one time, and then I started looking, and there was more, and there was more, and there was more. The plants are starting to look, the heat's going, and so the plants are starting to look a little bit rough, but that's okay, because these cantaloupe are starting to ripen up, and they are huge. They are really big, nice cantaloupes. And so I said, man, this raised bed right here is the bomb when it comes to growing cantaloupes. It's not all over the garden. It produced very well. My cantaloupes didn't rot. It's great for growing flowers. I stuck flowers in there that draw the pollinators. And then I had a volunteer tomato that came out from somewhere, and this is a Roman tomato. And I got it planted in here. And it's looking well. It needs to be staked up. It could be staked up now, but this raised bed, if you're going to want to grow, like, you know, this is good if you got back problems or, you know, things like that. But it's great for vining plants. And I didn't trim off any of these plants here, this cantaloupe. And I couldn't believe how big they are. They're humongous, super size. I'm not even sure if they're that big in the grocery store. But this bed over here, this is what it looks like. That one I used brush pile soil. This right here, I filled it with brush pile soil that decomposed way in the back there. I was working on it with a tractor yesterday, so it's a lot smaller now. But I filled these beds up with that soil, and then on this bed right here, I put 3 bags of box store soil, garden soil, on top of it. It settled down some. And I haven't planted anything into it besides these flowers. And the reason of that, because I've been thinking about planting my strawberries in it. But now that this plant, or should I say this raised bed here, and these plants have done so well, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to plant strawberries in there. I think it would be dynamite to grow watermelons in there, or something like that, even cucumbers. But I think I want to plant my watermelons in there. Now these beds are the same size, as just I did them differently. So this one's longer and this one's wider. Now this year I planted some watermelon into my big tubs down there, and I just pulled the vines up. And they did okay. You know, I mean, it was great. I got the watermelons I needed. And they did good. And so I thought, wow, you know, especially if you're dealing with vines, because I have the landscaping fabric down here. So they grew down here. And that was great. They didn't rot. But, man, I looked at this plant right here, and I was like, or these plants, and this raised bed, and I was like, man, that is the way to go right there. Growing any type of vining plant, because when you don't have to trim, it's not running over all the other plants, and the plants are not overrunning it. And look, it's like a trellis. It did super great. So next year I would like to plant watermelons into the other section over there. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my strawberries. So I'm glad I waited. When I didn't know what to do, I just waited. And I have a shade cloth over my strawberries, and that was another thing. I was looking at the weather and see if it would be good for my strawberry plants to be out here into this heat. And it started affecting them. And I said, nah, I don't think I'm going to do that, because I got a shade cloth over it. And I took a lot of my pots up yesterday, getting near that time, and put them up. But this is where I got my strawberries at. They don't look the best in the world. Well, that one definitely don't. But I was going to transplant them, so I haven't done anything. But the heat they always get to them. I just need to trim that out, and it'll put back out. But usually I have to move this tier here and move it over into the shade during July, because the heat just gets to the strawberries. So I put this shade cloth over it. And now that this raised bed is done so well with the cantaloupe, I'm definitely going to have to regroup here and figure out what I'm going to do with the strawberries. So now I'm thinking about getting another raised bed and put my strawberries in, so I have a place to grow watermelons. This was great because I grew everything I wanted to grow out into the garden, but I didn't have enough room for cantaloupe and watermelon because they take space. And this is kind of like a space saver right here, a space maker, because they grew like they needed to grow, 2 plants. And when last I counted was 14, then I looked again and I didn't even count them. There were so many in there, I was shocked. So the heat is getting to the plants now, but it is harvest time. So I'm harvesting and eating cantaloupe. And you know, with the raised bed, I kept it watered. It got all the water it wants. Most time with raised beds, you know, you have to water them more. But with it being cantaloupe, then definitely had to keep them watered. And they were so juicy and sweet, it was unbelievable. So just want to show you my raised bed, a little space maker here, the way to grow watermelons and cantaloupes. See you onto the next video. There was a watermelon right there, a little watermelon. It grew small watermelons. And my little man right there was covered up. See you onto the next video. Love this bed. Definitely want another one.